Meet the Mets, meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life, because the Mets are really socking the ball, knocking those home runs over the wall. East side, west side, everybody's coming down to meet the METS Mets of New York town. Oh, the butcher and the baker and the people on the streets, where do they go? To meet the Mets! Oh, they're hollering and cheering and they're jumping in their seats. Where do they go? To meet the Mets! All the fans...
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another Mets Postgame Show right here on the channel. I once again am going solo tonight. Chris could not make it, unfortunately, but the Mets lose 9-6 as the Mets had a 5-run lead, had a 6-1 lead, but never could get them more insurance runs against a red-hot Astros team that is very dangerous. You see what they can do by scoring 8 unanswered runs. And it came down to a very, very vulnerable bullpen. A bullpen that we knew going in didn't have a lot of bullets in there, right? A lot of guys weren't available. You were going with, let's be honest, a lot of the guys that you probably wouldn't have gone to, right? You had Adcock, you had Garrett, you had Young, Diekman. Again, you see what happens when your closer gets suspended. When you have Drew Smith, Foley, Raley, all going down with injuries, I don't care what type of GM or what type of team you are, it's very hard to have guys ready to go that are good enough to fill those roles. You can't plan for something like that. And it caught up to them today. But before we even get to the bullpen, and I want to make this very clear, this is not a big shot at the offense because they've been hammering the ball. But after you score 6 runs in the first 3 innings and you score nothing else, you give the offense of the Astros an opportunity to come back into the ballgame. And that's exactly what happened. Right? You can't. They went, look at the zeros from the 4th inning to the 9th inning. I'm sorry. The offense knew they had to cause some damage today. And look, 6 runs, you got Valdez out. That was key number 1. But they did nothing after that. When you got a 6-run lead, a 5-run lead, 6-1 after the 3rd inning, and then it was 6-4, you need your offense to, put up a couple of more runs as well. Knowing that a bullpen that is limited and that has been an issue, well, that was going to be the issue. Yeah, the bullpen is our weak spot, but you know what? Again, we talked about the offense doing their job, right? They got those 6 runs, awesome. But they also did nothing the other 6 innings, the other 5 innings. They didn't do nothing. And I'm sorry, guys. If you're going to tell me that Megill had a bad start, you're not paying attention, all right? Most pitchers nowadays go 5 innings, maybe 5 1/3. 5 1/3, 4 runs, and he left with a lead. You should be able to take that every day of the week. Sorry. I agree. No, you can't score 11 runs in a game. Absolutely. But you know what? You score 1 or 2 more runs, it might put the Astros in a more uncomfortable spot offensively than putting up zeros every inning, and they slowly came back, right? So, yep, the walks did hunt them again. Absolutely, Josh. And that's a big issue. No, Megill did his job. I'm sorry. He left with a lead. Now, did the bullpen blow it? Absolutely. Absolutely. But what do you like? People were complaining about Mendoza. I don't know what Mendoza was supposed to do. You could have mixed and matched differently with pitchers and kept another guy in longer or not, but he was really limited. Like, there was nothing he can do. He used every guy available. So, and nobody did their job. So, we could talk about blaming Mendoza for where to put the pitches and what inning. You can blame Hefner for everything, but the guys that are out there on the mound got to do the job. Easy, Megill did pitch well. He left with a lead. That's called pitch well. Sorry. 5 1/3, 4 runs against an offense that has been just as good as the Mets over the last month. That's pretty good. Sorry. That's not bad. And look, Josh just said it. You can't win them all. Easy, he pitched well. I'm sorry. What did you want from Tyler Megill? Did you want 7 innings of 1-run ball? Because you're not going to get that from him. If you went into that looking for that, it's not a bad start. I'm sorry. You guys are freaking insane. I'm not saying Megill deserves to be in the rotation because he doesn't. But if I would have told you 5 1/3, 4 runs with a Mets offense that has been scoring runs, he left with a lead. When you leave with a lead, not only did you keep your team in the ball game, you kept the lead. Yeah, I agree. But you know what? Mendoza tried to get him through 6 innings. He couldn't do it. I mean, I would have probably left him in, even though he was at 100 pitches. Well, that's the point, though. Again, what do you want him to have Jacob deGrom standards? Because that's stupid if you go into that looking like that. Right? And you know what? Buto and Scott, one of them are going to be here. Megill's either going to go to the bullpen, most likely, or, he's going to get sent down because he's not going to be able to pitch for at least 2-3 days if he was going to be in the bullpen anyway. So he's going to get sent down. But Christian Scott and Buto is not going to get called up until Megill's next start because you're replacing Megill with a bullpen arm. So it's probably going to be maybe a Josh Walker or somebody else. So the Mets are going to replace Megill with a bullpen arm because you're not worried about Megill's start for another 4 days. So it can be, it's explosive. Yeah, I agree. But he was going to get the start tomorrow, and it might be even a rain delay. Look. Okay, but again, you're talking about this is what annoys me about fans, right? We know what pitches are, but we want them to be something they're not. Right? Everybody wants their pitches to go 7 innings, 2 runs. But majority, by the way, even great pitchers don't even do that anymore. And by the way, Tyler Megill did the league average. So if you expected Megill to be Jacob deGrom or give you more than what he probably gave. Now, I would have loved for him to go 6. He didn't get there. So if he would have went 6 innings, 4 runs, would have felt better? Because after he would have came out anyway, the Mets still gave up 5 more runs after him. Sorry. He gave up 4 runs and he had a lead. Again, you guys are insane. I'm not saying Megill is good, but you're talking about wanting him to do something that he's not capable of doing. He's done it once in 2 years. Do you see the problem with that? So you're asking a guy who never does this to do it today. I'm sorry, you're asking guys to do something they're not doing. It's silly. It's silly. Right? The same reason where you get a bullpen that is getting pushed up into spots they're not comfortable in, and then we expect them to do the job. Yes, it is. Look at Major League Baseball. Do your research. I hope you want to do that. Google Major League average starts, innings. It's just exactly what Megill is. That's what an average is. Now, it's usually 3 runs, but 4 runs again. Are you going to go crazy because he left with a lead? I'm sorry. He pitched well enough to have the Mets win a ball game. You were up by 2 runs when he left. That I don't care who your starter is, because Megill, if you got 5 1/3 and 4 runs from a 5th starter, which Megill is basically bordering a 5th starter, you'll be insane not to want that. Everybody wants to keep on going back because you know who doesn't pitch all those innings and length? Most of Major League Baseball. So you're asking, okay, but he went 2 batters less. No. 6 innings, 3 runs isn't a quality start. 5 innings, 3 runs is a quality start in today's baseball. because of the league average. That's the issue. No, it's not about backing Megill, but people want him to do better, more than what he's capable of. Like, it makes no sense. You go into a start where you know what Megill is, right? Didn't you say he's going to go 3 innings, giving up 5 runs? Well, he did better than what you did, so you should be happy. No, easy, but that's not the point. The fact of the matter is, you're going to let him throw 110 to 115 pitches, risk getting him hurt, number one. And on top of that, there's no guarantee that he would leave with the ball game if you're going to pitch him 2 or 3 more batters. What if he gives up the lead? Then who are you going to be mad at? Megill, who threw 115 pitches? Because he was already at 101. So it makes no sense to worry about Megill when he left with a lead. He did his job. I'm sorry. He did his job. Yeah, it's not even, I'm not even calling it a good day. But it's quality based on what you get from most major league pitching. And by the way, if you look at 5th starters, Megill is a 5th starter, bordering a 5th starter. You take that every day of the week. Because of the fact of our situation, you can't change the fact of what a pitcher is. Right? You had other bullpens. You had other guys in your bullpen that didn't do the job. Guys that you trusted. Diekman didn't do the job. Garrett didn't do the job. They're the main culprits. They lost the lead, not Megill. Yeah, but that's the point, though. You want Tyler to Megill. No, by the way, he didn't keep us in the ball game. He left with a lead. That's a big difference. If the Mets were behind, I would say yes, he kept us in the ball game. But he kept the lead. He left the game in the lead. It's up to everybody else. It's up to the offense who put up 5 innings of zeros in a row, and the bullpen in mostly Diekman and Garrett who didn't do the job. So it's not about keeping us in the game. He kept us in the lead. That's a huge difference. I'm sorry. If you guys were going into the game expecting Megill to give you 6, 7 innings, it probably wasn't going to happen. Because when did you see him do that? He did it once this year against the Dodgers. Every other start has been less than that, much less than that. 5 innings, 4 2/3, 4 1/3. No. I'm not killing the offense because they've carried this team. But again, we knew that this was going to be a tough game for us, right? We all knew that. 6 innings, 3 runs is not a quality start. Not in today's baseball. Guys, stop going back 10 years ago. 6 innings, 3 runs is quality starts 10 years ago. Now, it's 5 innings of 3-run baseball. So he did a little bit worse than that. They pitch these guys to not go 5 innings, more than 5 innings anymore. That's what they do in the minors. This is why analytics make you have more bullpen arms than normal. That's the idea. And by the way, that's why yesterday's win was so important, because you got 2 opportunities to win this series, right? And I told you before this series, don't jump off the Shea Bridge if you lose this series, because it's not the end of the world. You're playing one of the other hottest teams in baseball. We tend to forget that just because the Mets are playing well, everybody else is non-existent. It's a silly comment, because the Astros have been just as good as us over the last month. They also were 12 games under 500 when the Mets were 11 games under 500 and got back to 500 the same day the Mets got back to 500. So it could be a lot. It could have been a lot worse, right? It was a game where we were holding on for dear life. We knew the bullpen was in trouble. Like it happens, right? We knew the problem was going to be the bullpen, right? But we're watching Megill, expecting him to go 6 or 7 innings. I'm sorry, he doesn't do that. This is not a guy who you should be expecting to go 6 or 7 innings. He's a borderline 5th starter. I'm sorry, go around baseball. Find me 5th starters that go consistently 6 innings or expected 6 innings. Half of them are out in the 4th or the 5th inning. occasionally have a really good start. So we're asking Megill to do something that he's not. The same way we ask pitchers in bullpen spots to do jobs that they're not comfortable doing. Right? I never understood that. Like, yeah, we always want our pitchers to go 7 innings. You know why? Because most of us are old school. Most of us saying, get your ass out there and pitch until your arm falls off. But they don't do that anymore. As soon as you hit 100 pitches or third time through the order, you're out of the game. And most times in baseball nowadays, you have your third at bat by either the 5th or 6th inning, because that's how baseball works. That's how it is now. I don't like it. I would have made Megill throw the rest of the 5th inning. I would have said, screw it, it's your game. But they don't do that anymore. 5 1/3, 4 runs. If you don't take that from Tyler Megill, then what do you want from a 5th starter? Because you can't find 5th starters that are throwing you 6, 7 innings of 3-run baseball. You're just not. And if you're going to continue to argue with it, look at baseball. And Sevy is pitching tomorrow. Yes. So that's the other thing, right? You got your best pitcher on the mound tomorrow, Severino, who is a guy you expect to go at least 6 innings. You see the difference there? Severino is expected because he's done it numerous times. I want to see Severino go 6 or 7 tomorrow. You know why? Because I've seen him do it this year multiple times. You know who didn't do it multiple times this year? Tyler Megill. And oh, by the way, coming off an injury over the last April and May. So you're not trying to get the guy hurt, regardless if you like him or not. You're not trying to hurt your pitcher. And on top of that, Megill is not Severino, but he's not even close. It's not 6 innings and 3 runs. God, most pitchers do not go 6 innings, especially 5th starters. And Megill is a borderline 5th starter. Well, 18, I'm sorry, but the majority of Major League Baseball can't find 5th starters. If you look around baseball, it's rare that your 5th starter is the same pitcher over a couple of months. They switch it all the time. It is what it is. Explosive. It might be. It really might be. But you know what? Severino, I can see going 105, 110, 105, 106 pitches because he's done it like multiple times. Megill hasn't. Megill, this is the only time he pitched. He had 100 pitch, over 100. Well, he had 101, if I'm not mistaken. 101 pitches. Like you can't do that. I'm sorry. The guy was hurt the first 2 months of the season. You can't play with arms like that. You know, regardless if you like Megill, you can't just throw him out there and let his arm fall off. Now, I have a different mentality. Get out there and win us the ball game. But they don't do that anymore. It sucks. Shintaro Fujinami might help the bullpen. Now with his 6 ERA in AAA. Well, Daniel, but that's my point as well. Like, we've known this starting pitching hasn't gone deep into ball games. Yet, we expect them to. Every time, I'm like, oh, let's get 6 or 7 innings. Where? Yeah, Daniel, our bullpen is taxed, but let's give the bullpen that has been put together with, Scotch tape and Elmer's glue, because we do have a Reed Foley injury, a Raley injury, and a Drew Smith injury. And that's 3 guys that were supposed to be in our bullpen, and big guys in our bullpen. And oh, by the way, Diaz is suspended for 10 games. So you don't have 4 of your main bullpen arms in your pen. I'm sorry, that's hard to deal with for any team. No, I know, but I'm reading the comments as we go. I'm trying to, actually, because they're flying over here. Well, 18, he did go to 100. The problem with Megill, and this is what got me a little frustrated, that 4th inning killed him, because his first 3 innings, his pitch count was like I think he had, after 3 innings, he had just over 42, 43 pitches. That 3rd inning, he threw 40 pitches. That kind of ended everything. 18, but what moves, though? I'm sorry, nobody's trading multiple bullpen arms to get there, right? All you can do is start, mixing around your farm system, which they have been doing a lot of, by the way. Right? Danny Young, Nunez, today with Adcock. Those 3 guys weren't even supposed to be in this bullpen at all. But they're using a lot of their depth in the farm system. Yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with that about Megill, and that's the issue. So you're making a comment based on competitive pitches, yet you want him to go 6 innings and throw 3-run baseball or less than that. So, like, you can't make that comment and then expect Megill to do that because he doesn't do that. That's why I don't know what you were expecting. Well, Daniel, again, baseball doesn't do that anymore. Like we're looking at it through a lens from the early 2000s and 90s. If you're around that age, I'm sorry, but if you're 20 years old or 20, if you're our boy Hayden, right? He's what, 21, 22, right? He don't remember guys going 7, 8 innings every start, most of your rotation. They don't do that anymore. You know who usually does that now? An ace of a staff. Most of it, sometimes, unless you have the elite pitchers that have Cy Young potential, that will do that. Well, you see, it's supposed to. That's the other thing. Because we've been winning, right? Because we've been winning like crazy. A loss sucks, right? Because we haven't had that issue in a while. But you know what? We do have an opportunity with our best pitcher on the mound. With, by the way, the Astros, who used a lot of their bullpen today, by the way, are pitching a bullpen game tomorrow. So the Mets do have the advantage going into tomorrow. Again, that means who knows what that means. But again, the Mets did score 6 runs today. So they're keeping up their average runs per game. So I'm confident about tomorrow because the Severino and the Astros don't even know who's pitching tomorrow. Yeah, easy. You know, Hayden brought that up about Hefner and the walks, but what is Hefner going to do? Like, I'm curious to know what you're going to do. You got everybody in your bullpen, walking everybody. What is Hefner going to do? Hey, buddy, how about throwing strikes? Because that's all he can do. Like even the pitch selection. Like, okay, fine. Maybe you should throw more strikes, more fastballs here and there. But like, what are you supposed to tell the pitcher to do when they walk the ballpark? When most of them do. Like, if it's one guy, maybe you can see, all right, maybe he's doing something a little different here. But when it's the majority of the bullpen staff, what are you going to tell them? Like, that's what I'm confused about. Like, look, I don't think Hefner's good at all. But to tell a coach, hey, you got to do something. This is on Hefner because 6 out of your 9 bullpen guys are walking the ballpark. Like, what? Like, what are you supposed to tell them? Throw strikes. You're a major leaguer. Grow a pair. How about stop throwing 4 sliders in a row and throw your fastball? Like, the other thing with Megill today was, especially in the 4th inning, his fastball, they couldn't touch today. And this is on Alvarez too. And I'm not even blaming Alvarez because I think he's just probably needs a day off. But when it comes to the first 3 innings, and you've seen that a lot of the guys are behind his fastball, not catching up to it. And Miguel's best pitch today was his fastball. In the 4th inning, he stopped throwing his fastball for whatever reason. I don't know if he didn't feel confident throwing it in the 4th inning, I don't know. But he stopped throwing it. And if you look at a lot of their hits, we're on breaking balls. He threw a couple of hanging curveballs. His cutter wasn't that great. His slider was his changeup was and he got away from his fastball, which was working the first 3 innings. So, you know, that's when you can get on Hefner. Like, go out into the mind. And again, that doesn't mean that Hefner didn't tell him to do it. And Alvarez and Megill did something different. We don't know. We're not in their heads. But, you know, I can't fault Hefner for an entire staff of bullpen arms. Yeah, Patrick, I agree with that. You know, you can't blame Hefner for a entire bullpen staff that is not even, most of these guys are from the minors who are still walking the ballpark. That's not all on Hefner. Like, what is Hefner going to say? Like, I'm not sure what you guys want him to do. I mean, what is he going to do? Yell at them and say, throw strikes? Well, he probably does. But, you know, they don't do it. And it's been a problem all season, including the starting pitching, by the way. Yeah, easy. And that's the issue with Alvarez. He doesn't he always tries to frame every pitch, and he gets caught sometimes in between where like that pass ball, or they called it a wild pitch, but that's not on the pitcher. That's a pass ball. You put your glove on it, you got to get that ball. Alvarez, that pass ball was huge. And who knows, because I think they actually got the next batter after that. So that kind of sucked. But look, it's hard to kill the kid. He's been absolutely amazing. Not only is he probably exhausted because he played 9 straight days, so it's hard to kill him. But yeah, he has to catch that ball. That ball shouldn't get to the backstop and let a run score. But he was probably tired. But, the unfortunate part was, you could have put Terrence late in the ball game, but then you risk losing his bat in the lineup, but he didn't do nothing today. But okay, Sanders, but again, who? Because there's a lot of guys that we wanted the Mets to sign that aren't having good seasons. So, and actually the bullpen before a lot of the injuries were pitching well. The Mets bullpen was top 5 in the league before all the injuries. And then May happened. So, David Robinson, I guess. Yeah, but Ethan, when you bury it in their heads to frame pitches, and this is how catchers are brought up now, you got to frame every pitch, right? I think they kind of lose the aspect of blocking balls in the dirt and turning your glove over when you don't need to frame a ball that's 7 inches out inside or outside. So, yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, Danny. Yeah, the game's on the bullpen. Listen, you can't give up a lead, right? Right? Anybody can kill Megill all they want, but Megill left with a lead. If you want more from a 5th starter, I'm sorry, go to Mexico and go to the Mexican League. Like, I just don't understand. Like we're asking starters to go do more than what they never do. So, but this game's on the bullpen 100%. You have a lead. I think they had 6 walks in total. You're not going to win a ball game like that. And again, against a hot team in the Astros, I think we forget that the Astros are the 2nd hottest team in baseball next to the Mets. So, you can't let that happen. God, I don't want to touch the offense. But again, guys, look at all the zeros from the 4th inning to the 9th inning. They scored the 6 runs. You got one of the better pitchers in baseball out of the ball game. You got to hit somebody in that bullpen. Even a run or 2 more over the next 5 innings, it might not have even been a contest. We might be talking about a Mets win being 2 games over 500. Yeah, Daniel. Yeah. Well, yeah, I understand that. But you know what? Garrett and Diekman, right? These 2 guys, well, at least Garrett. Garrett shouldn't be in this bullpen, right? Because Garrett's here is because of the injuries. So, again, we're expecting Garrett to be something he's not. And I think we also forget that as well, that you're asking pitchers. Garrett last year was not even in existence being a good bullpen arm. But he figured out a splitter that's been working, and he's had good moments for the Mets. But he also is, hold on, guys, Reed Garrett. And we're expecting him to be the closer of the Mets over a week and a half. I'm sorry, we're asking guys to do way too much than what they're probably capable of. Diekman, that sucks because, that was one of the better signings from Stearns. The problem with Diekman now is that he is the main lefty out of the bullpen. Diekman was supposed to be the secondary guy out of the bullpen for a left-hander. Really was supposed to be our number 1 guy. So now Diekman gets put into bigger spots that probably rarely would have got put in. So, yeah, it sucks. Yeah, explosive. Yeah. Tidwell's not happening. Again, everybody wants to bring up these minor leaguers like we know exactly what they're going to be. And Ricardo, you can't DFA guys right now. You have nobody in the bullpen. You can't keep on bringing guys from the minors who are probably not any better. If you look at the bullpen arms in AAA, who are you excited about? I talked about Sulser the other day, who they transition to a bullpen arm who has a 2.5 ERA. Maybe you bring him up. Maybe you hit lightning in a bottle. But other than that, guys, you're seeing the good part of the farm system up with the Mets already. Danny Young, Nunez, Adcock. Those guys have been good in AAA. That's why they're here, to replace the injured guys. So there's nothing else. There's not much you can do. It's very hard to make trades when 97% of the National League, or baseball for that matter, is in a wild card race. Like, nobody's trading anybody yet, especially good arms. Yeah, you want an arm? You're going to get an arm that probably has a 4.5, 5 ERA. So there's no way of getting somebody that's better, at least right now. Yeah, I'm not sure if Joe Lucchesi is bullpen material. I mean, you can try it, but again, yeah, maybe Kranick is. Well, I think Kranick's hurt, if I'm not mistaken. So I think he's hurt. He might have just came back. I know he got hurt in spring. 18. You know how many bullpen arms he signed for the major league team and the minors? 13. So who did you want to sign? Like I just don't get it. Like, go back to the names and look at their stats. They're not very good. They're not. Maybe one or two guys, but again, we're asking to get everybody. Like, you got to remember, guys, Rayleigh was on this team. Diekman was a nice signing, right? We had Diaz coming back, right? Nobody wanted Ottavino, but Ottavino was a 1-year deal that, you can talk about it now. So, Kranick is back at pitcher. Okay. Yeah, easy. That's another issue too with the 0-2. Yeah, again, Robertson, but that doesn't mean, guys, we have to understand this. It doesn't mean the team is just going to give you Robertson. You got to give up something to get something. Like we do. Okay, Hauser pitched 3 innings 2 days ago. I mean, yesterday, so he's not available. Lopez. Yeah, Ottavino stinks. I agree. Ryan Stanek over Ottavino. Yeah, I wanted Ryan Stanek. I wanted Ryan Stanek. I was, if you look back in the offseason, I did multiple videos about Stanek. I wanted him. Now, okay, you could have said that, sure. But again, he is good, but hold on one second, guys. I just want to see something. Let's see. All right, hold on. Okay, so Ryan Stanek has a 3.34 ERA. Pretty good. Not bad. Right? Pretty damn good. Let's see. So 3.34. Really pretty good. Pretty decent. 32 innings. Pretty good. Strikeouts are a little under an inning strikeout per inning. He has a ton of walks, though, which would be a problem as a Met. He has 11 walks in 32 innings. It's not terrible. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. Okay, but Robinson, look, you don't keep Robinson last year for no reason. He had a 1-year deal. He was going to be a free agent regardless. Yeah, Duran, I understand that. But again, the Marlins, White Sox, and Rockies aren't going to just trade because they're out of it right now. You don't think other teams need bullpen arms? Nobody's trading right now. Not yet. Maybe in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe. So, like, it's hard to just say, oh, yeah, trade somebody. But you know what? The pitchers that are actually good in their bullpens in the Marlins, Rockies, and White Sox, what do you want to give up? A bag of peanuts? Because it's not happening. And why would the Marlins, White Sox, or Rockies only trade with the Mets right now and say, oh, hey, you need bullpen arms? Here you go. When the Marlins, Rockies, and White Sox want competition for those bullpen arms to get the best deal possible. So, well, AT, I don't know why you don't have faith, right? I know you were one of the teams that think this team is going to be 15 games on the 500 and be a terrible team. Well, they're 500 right now, and they're kind of, average, but the rest of the National League is. And, oh, by the way, the National League as well is not that good. So, Yeah, well, Daniel, that's the point, though, right? I mean, how do we see? This is the thing. We assume that David Stearns is not calling these teams right now. What if the Marlins, White Sox, and Rockies saying, "Listen, we're not doing that right now." Click. Like, what is Stearns supposed to do? Fly out there and beat the shit out of a GM? No. You can only do what the other team's willing to do. You can't change that. And if you are going to get something right now, you're going to pay a heavy premium because it's 4.5 weeks before the deadline. So, let's see. Yeah, it's on the verge of being a second half of games. When you're 80 games in, you're going to be playing 81 tomorrow. Yeah, 18. I understand that, but you act like other teams are just going to say, "Oh, Stearns, you need somebody. You know what? Come here, buddy. Let me take your shoulder. Let's help you out." They're not doing that. They're not going to take the Mets' crappy, low-level, no-name players because you need a reliever. It doesn't work like that. These teams are not stupid. These GMs want multiple teams involved in their good bullpen arms so they can get the best available package. Like, what do you want to give up? Let's say name a pitcher, whoever it is. Let's say he's one of the better bullpen arms out there right now. Unless you're going to give a premium back to them, why would they? Alex Ramirez, he's having a terrible season. He was a top 10 prospect and he's falling out of it. So, yeah, I don't think they want Alex Ramirez. Like, that's the issue. Like, yeah, of course you want to give up Alex Ramirez because he's not very good. You see the point? Why would other teams want your prospects that have been failing in the minors, who dropped down in overall prospect list? Yeah, okay, he's 22. 2 years ago, he was in the top 5. So, sorry, I don't want him. I'm sorry. I mean, you guys want to give everything that we don't want, but you expect the teams to take it because we don't want them. Kevin Parada, interested. That's an option. See, that's better because that's a top 10 prospect. Right? You kind of really don't need Kevin Parada because you do have Alvarez. So, yeah, Kevin Parada is interesting. But again, look at the White Sox, look at the Marlins, look at the Rockies. What if they already have catching prospects in their system? Why would they want Parada? You see, so you also have to look at that. You know, Kevin Parada, that's an interesting name. But you also can't just assume that the Marlins, White Sox, and Rockies don't have top catching prospects. We don't know that. So why do they want another one? How does that benefit them? Yeah, 18, I understand that, but he's also had 2 bad seasons in the minors. He hasn't been good. And I was one of those advocates for Alex Ramirez, who was having a really good spring training, to start with the team over DJ Stewart. But he hasn't had a good season. Yeah, 18, I understand that. But what teams? Again, you want to call the Cincinnati Reds? The Pittsburgh Pirates? Sure, that's great. But they still seem like being in the mix, right? There's not a lot of teams that are not in the mix. That's the issue. And these teams, like the Mets, if you have 2 good weeks of baseball, you're right back in the race. So why are you giving up? That's the issue. Well, Daniel, that's not even a point though. Like we also have to look at, you know, there's teams like I'm gonna go right now, right? The National League, right? The Mets were in this position 2 weeks ago, right? All right, let's look. Wild card. Everybody except for the Marlins and the Rockies are not in the wild card mix. If the Chicago Cubs have a really good week, they're 4 games out, right? So why would they trade anybody, right? I'm looking at teams that are almost at the bottom where the Mets were not even 3 weeks ago. Well, 18, but I understand that. 2 weeks down the road, we have a different conversation. But you're not 2 weeks down the road. You can't fix it 2 weeks from now if it's going to continue to be a disaster. PR, I agree with you. I don't want Megill in the rotation. They do have good starting pitching in the minors. Okay, I wouldn't have Megill in this rotation. But he pitched today. So it's not about being negative. And I'm not being negative based on the performance of the bullpen. I'm going with comments on what people are saying that, let's trade for guys for bullpen arms. It's not that easy. Yeah. How about the Angels? Fine. That's fine. And I guarantee, is he having a good season? I think he is. So what are you going to give up? Maybe they don't want Parada. Maybe they have a catching prospect. It's hard, right? Megill is borderline fifth starter. Yeah, it was his last start. And you know what? He pitched better than when he did the last couple of starts, but not good enough. Right? So, you also have to look at, everybody wanted Jose Butto and Christian Scott. Well, what if today wasn't their start date? And that's why they couldn't bring them up. Now, they could have figured that out somehow, but you're winning. So why ruffle the apple tree when you don't have to? No, 18, I understand that, but Stearns isn't the guy just making decisions and saying, okay, trade me this guy because I want him. The other GMs can say, we're not trading right now. What is Stearns going to do? If guys hang up on you because they're not trading anybody yet, and you're very limited on teams you're going to ask, right? So the National League, you got the Marlins and the Rockies, right? Doesn't mean they're trading people yet. They might be, but you don't know, right? You go to the American League. Besides the Angels, Oakland, and the White Sox, right? Those three teams probably not going anywhere. Texas still has a shot, right? The 7.5 games doesn't seem like a lot, but their divisional races are kind of interesting when you look at it, right? So, and the Rangers just spent a ton of money bringing in to try to win a World Series last year, so they're probably not going to get rid of guys. So, yeah, well, the Tigers are technically still in it. Like, I mean, if you really look at it, the Tigers are, let's see. The Tigers are 7.5 games out. Okay, they might be one of the teams. But again, you have one good week. Remember, guys, we forget that the Mets were 6 games out of a wild card spot and one of the second to last team in the National League. So just because the Mets did it, we're not expecting the Tiger team who spent money and brought up a couple of their big kids. Like, these teams are not going to sell just yet. Now, 2 weeks when the All-Star break comes, now we have different conversations. But it's not even July yet, guys. So, it's impossible to figure that out yet. And that's why you're putting out all the starts. Yeah, PR, you can do that, but that's a dangerous game to play. Because if you're going to pull starters such as Scott, Budo, and put them in the bullpen, yeah, that sounds nice, but those are guys that also have never done that, who you prepare to be starters. That's a dangerous game to play. You don't want to hurt these guys either. $18, yeah, I agree with that. I agree. But we can't talk about have been. Right? You can't talk about a Seth Lugo who hasn't been here in 2 years. Kind of hard to play, what if? Right? Because nobody thought Seth Lugo would be the starter that he is right now. Sorry. Well, let's not make like Seth Lugo. We all knew he was going to be a great starter. Like, again, this is a result-oriented business. You can't wait for the results to happen and say, oh, look at that. Well, PR, but you also can't hurt these guys either, right? We're talking about putting starters in roles they never been in. You're kind of causing the same issue, right? You're putting bullpen guys who are not comfortable in these situations, in situations they're not comfortable. So you want to put 2 starters who are very good starters in bullpen situations that you don't know that they can do. Now, would I try it? Yes. But you're looking at it from a fan perspective and not an organizational perspective. Christian Scott is going to be in your rotation, if not this year, for the rest of the year, definitely next year. Same thing with Jose Butto. So you don't want to mess with these guys. You don't want to mess with these guys. Yeah, you're mid in college, though. Like, whole new ball game. Whole new ball game. When you transition a guy into a starter and you prepare him to be a starter. Now, I'm not saying they shouldn't do that. I think they should. Look, I worry about the Major League Club. I can care less about next year, because it don't matter to me. You got the whole offseason to prepare to be a starter again. I do it. I put Megill in there. I put Buto. I put Scott. Or at least one of those two guys. Or two out of the three guys. Now, you expect Megill not to be in the rotation. So put him in the bullpen. It's another arm, right? And I would have put Scott or Buto in the rotation and put one of them in the bullpen as well. I would do that. But again, we're looking at it from a fan perspective who's pissed off right now. You got to look at it from an organizational situation where they're trying to avoid these guys getting hurt. Peterson, I don't know. I mean, haven't we seen Peterson and Megill in the bullpen before? A couple of years ago? They weren't good. So, again, we're throwing at anything that sticks here, yet we know Megill and Peterson aren't very good starters, and they weren't good in the bullpen when they got the chances to do that. Two guys, by the way, who lose the strike zone very quickly. Do you want them coming into the bullpen situation to have the issue that the bullpen already has? I don't know. You know, I think we're doing too much trying to throw anything at the wall and see what sticks. Like, I understand it, but I don't, you know, like I said, I do whatever I can to fix this bullpen internally, and I can care less of if it's a prospect, if it's a journeyman. I don't care. I do it. At least until Diaz comes back, so you get your closer back so you can push everybody back. At least for the next 7 to 10 days. Oh yeah, I'm mad about the loss because this is the game you should have won up 6-1. Right? Even when Megill came out of the game, it was 6-4. You still had a chance for the offense to put a little bit more runs in and the bullpen to not blow up. Yeah, Deoka's coming back, but I think he just came back like what, a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago. You know, that's interesting, but I don't know if he's ready yet. And you don't want to rush him because the guy's coming back from a major elbow injury. So, yeah, I would love him to come up. I mean, he has an electric arm. But you also don't want to rush the guy. Let me just double check. Let's see. Bryce Monte Deoka. Let's see. All right, let's go. Let's see what we got here. Okay, here we go. So he just came back. He pitched in 6 games. 4 innings, 5 strikeouts, but has a 14.5 ERA. You ready for him to come up? Yeah, and Sanders, that's what's probably going to happen. You're going to have guys like Ramos, like Josh Walker, right? They're trying to avoid having the starters in the minor leagues go into a direct major league role in the bullpen. I'd rather have guys who's pitching in the minors that are pitching in the bullpen right now because they know what's coming, right? They know, all right, I know I'm a bullpen guy. Boom, go. Right? It's probably going to be Josh Walker filling in for Megill. Megill's going to get sent back to the minors because he can't pitch for at least 3-4 days. So there's no point in keeping him on the roster. You're going to need a bullpen arm tomorrow. So Megill's roster spot is going to be taken over by a bullpen arm. I'm thinking it's going to be Josh Walker, but it definitely can be Ramos. Yeah, Todd Adcock, he throws strikes. So he can be a good option here, right? But he's not available tomorrow. He pitched an inning in the 3rd. I don't know if he's going to be available. So now you might have Nunez back tomorrow, maybe. But sorry, guys, you're probably going to see Ottavino tomorrow. You're going to see Ottavino, whoever replaces Megill to fill a bullpen spot, and you might get Adcock maybe. But what you're hoping tomorrow, because Severino has done it on numerous occasions, is get Severino to go 6 or 7. He's going to need to do it. And that's a guy that you tell him, hey, this is what I need from you. You know why? Because I've seen him do it multiple times this year. He's capable. Megill is not. And even if anybody wanted to replace Scott or Buto for Megill today, that sounds beautiful. But how many innings you thought Scott and Budo was going to go? Because they've been pitching no more than 5 innings in the minors over the last couple of weeks. So you think they're going to throw them more than 5 innings? No. So you're going to be in the same predicament. Now, maybe less runs. Maybe. We don't know. We're speculating here. But you do have Adcock. You're going to have Ottavino tomorrow. There's Reed Garrett's probably not available. Hauser's not available. Maybe Nunez is available. So, it's a tough go. And that's why, we're getting it on coaches, putting in guys that was available. Like, he put in everybody who was available today except for Ottavino. And Ottavino was kind of borderline available. So, he had Garrett come in the 8th to try to lock it down, keep the lead. Didn't happen. Well, yeah. You see, that's the thing, Ricardo. Like, who is it going to be? It's probably going to be Ramos or Walker. Yeah, Duran, I understand that, but they had opportunities to get out of innings. They did. Like, you can't walk 4 batters in the 8th inning. I don't care who's your pitcher. You're gonna get bit right in the ass if you do that. So, all right, guys. Unfortunately, the Mets lose 9-6. Again, we knew this was going to be a tough series. The top 2 teams, or the best 2 teams in baseball over the last month, is the Mets and the Astros. One in the National League, one in the American League. This was going to be a tough series. It was a pretty good chance nobody was going to get swept here. Tomorrow, the Mets have an opportunity with their best pitcher on the mound, with the Astros, who don't know who their starter is. They're probably going with a bullpen game tomorrow. The Mets have the upper hand tomorrow because they got an actual starter pitching tomorrow, your best starter, who is capable of going 6 or 7 innings, and the offense, who still scored 6 runs today. So you're facing a bullpen that has been taxed over the last 2 days. They might call up a minor leaguer to start the game for the Astros, but even still, the Mets still have a chance here to win another series, and that's the goal, right? Win another series, you get back to a game over 500, and then you go to Washington. So with that said, guys, we got another Mets post-game show in the books. The Mets lose 9-6, back to 500, 40-40. Tough loss today. Tough loss. But you come back tomorrow. This team has been resilient. They got the upper hand tomorrow with the better pitcher on the mound. The offense still scoring runs. We'll see what happens tomorrow. I'll catch you guys tomorrow, hopefully with another Mets victory, and the Mets will be ready to go to Washington, winning another series and still being hot. Because you're allowed to lose a game or 2 and still be a hot team. So with that said, everybody have a great night. Let's go Mets. I'll see you tomorrow, guys. See you next time. Good night.
All the fans are true to the orange and blue. So hurry up and come.